What you'll notice here is that there's a very obvious structure which we all agree on, right? As it pertains to righteousness. Verse 28 says, "And now, little children, abide in him, that when he shall appear, we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming. If you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone that doeth righteousness is born of him." Right? This phrase right here, everyone that doeth righteousness is born of him. Right? Now let's compare that really quick to 1 John 5:1. And we're going to do this with another verse as well. "Whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God." Now in both of these, what do you have? You have the structure of whosoever A is born of God, right? So whosoever believeth in this instance is born of God. Go back to 1 John 2:29. Excuse me. And I scrolled too far here. It is everyone that doeth righteousness, which whosoever and everyone that are, obviously synonymous terms, is born of him, of course, there being God. So you have the same structure in either sentence. The person who does A is born of God, right? In 1 John 2:29, we all recognize there is an order here, right? The order is that those who do righteousness, do so because they are born of him. In other words, this is a descriptive sentence. If you are born of God, you will perform righteousness. Is that also true of 1 John 5:1? Well, maybe, maybe not. Let's see if there's another verse that might back up that understanding, and indeed there is. 1 John 4.
Verse 7.
Thank you, brother. Scroll down to verse 7. We see, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And here we have that structure again, everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God." And once again, at least in Protestant circles, the overwhelming majority of us will agree there's an order here. This is a descriptive sentence, right? Again, everyone who A is born of God. What's the A in this instance? Everyone who loves is born of God. Now, Kevin, very interestingly, in the conversation between you guys, actually rejected this verse. I don't think he did it intentionally, but in effect, that's what he was doing, because he was saying, well, yeah, but non-believers love each other as well, which, of course, is just very peculiar when you have this verse looking at you in the face. Obviously, this verse says that they don't, at least not in the godly sense. So everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. Does that mean you have to love to be born of God, or is it a description? You are born of God, therefore you love. So notice now we have two different verses that have this structure. The structure is all A are born of God, and we have a consistent interpretation in both of those verses. Namely, all who do A because they are born of God, right? So we have the same structure twice, and we have the same interpretation on both the Calvinist and non-Calvinist side as far as how you read that. You read that as all who do A because they're born of God. In other words, there is an implicit not pattern, excuse me. What's the word I'm looking for here? Order, right? So now go back to 1 John 5:1, and this is the part I think that they miss. And this is, sorry, I just did 4 again. This is John's original argument if you guys want to go watch the original video. And John, of course, you're here so you can correct me on anything I get wrong. Once again, we have the same structure. Whosoever A is born of God. What's the A here? Whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, right? So we have the same exact structure a third time. Now, precedent tells us, given the last two interpretations, that this verse must be communicating, or at least is likely communicating, we'll use induction here, that all who do A because they're born of God. But then what does that mean? If we use the same interpretive method that we just used in 1 John 4:7 and 1 John 2:29, then it is all who do what? Believe in Jesus Christ do so because they're born of God. You see? And this is why we're calling this a syntactical error on Kevin's part. It's not simply that the perfect tense implies something in the past that is ongoing. It is also the fact that we have this exact same sentence structure in this exact same book by this exact same author 2 separate times, and we agree on the way to interpret both of those 2 separate times. The only thing the Calvinist is doing in this instance is interpreting the 3rd verse in the same way we interpreted verses 1 and 2. The provisionist, open theist, Molinist, whatever, Arminian, whatever, right? In this case, Kevin's a provisionist, but the non-Calvinist in this instance is interpreting 1 John 5:1 in a fundamentally different way than he interpreted the exact same sentence structure as given by the exact same author in the exact same book mere chapters ago. That's the problem. And that's why this is such a major syntactical error. And that is something that, John, you tried to explain to Kevin like 6 times. He just refused to get it. And part of the reason I know, because people might say, well, what do you mean he didn't get it? Well, if you can't give me my argument back to me, then you don't understand my argument. Whether that's because you refuse to understand my argument or it went over your head or what have you, that's not the point of the conversation. The point is you clearly don't get it because you can't repeat it back to me.
I said, won't it be a time?